Hi guys, let's talk gyro controls. Gyroscopic controls, or gyro for short, refers to using the gyroscope built into your controller for aiming by tilting and turning the controller as a whole as opposed to just the joysticks. This allows you to have more range of motion to move your aim when compared to the sticks. Think of it as something like a person on mouse and keyboard who goes from a tiny mouse pad to a significantly larger one. That extra area allows them to be more precise than the person with the small mouse pad. In this video, I hope to help you get a better understanding of what gyro is, present the pros and cons while comparing it to more traditional input methods, and give you a few tips for trying it out yourself. So, the basics. As I said at the start of the video, gyro is all about moving the entire controller in your hands for the aiming of the reticle. This isn't like the Wii Sports commercials where people are standing up, swinging their arms wildly across their body. You play gyro basically the same as you play controller, hands down, in your lap, resting on your legs while sitting comfortably with the controller in your hands, as you would normally. You still use your right stick for turning your character if you need to turn around or make large turns, and you do small tilts and adjustments with the controller when there's something in front of you that you're trying to aim at. You can use a small flick of your controller to switch targets. You still incorporate that right stick to help you stay grounded, but when you see a target in front of you, you should be aiming basically exclusively with the gyro controls. Some games even have a gyro reset button where you can recenter your view if you've gotten out of sorts and just want the game to do it for you. I encourage you mapping that button to the D-pad if you play gyro in Rogue Company, for example. So let's get into the settings. If you are a first-time gyro user who has no idea what you are doing, you should explore the default gyro controls for your game and try to get a bit accustomed to that at first. While I don't think the gyro default controls are the best for every game, you need to have some understanding of what it should feel like and to retrain your brain to aim with the controller movements as opposed to the sticks. If you go straight into settings when you won't fully understand what your changes are doing, and you may change them in a way that will give you a very negative first experience. Once you are used to gyro a bit and you want to start adjusting the controls, I recommend going into your settings and seeing what values you can adjust. Rogue Company is a game with a lot of customization in its gyro controls, so you have plenty of room to make it feel right in your hand. I personally like it when I feel I have a high sensitivity on gyro so I can do well up close and have a lot of control in a wide angle in front of me, but you may not like that. You may prefer a lower sensitivity. Lowering that will most likely make it easier to use gyro at long ranges. Though if you're playing a game like Rogue where you can independently adjust your aim down sight sensitivity, you may not need to worry about that, as you can have a high sense on your looking around values and then have a much lower sense when you're aiming down sights. If I have those options, I prefer the high looking sense, low aim down sight sense, and an even lower scope sensitivity. In a game like Paladins, I found the aim was easier at lower sense if I played a character that did well from longer ranges, and I preferred a higher setting if I was playing a flanker that was more close quarters. Though I don't recommend most people constantly change their sensitivity, you want a consistent setting so you can develop better muscle memory. The pros, cons, and comparing to other input methods. None of this matters if there are no pros to gyro controls, and there are several. There are some cons though that I want to address, as I feel you should have the full understanding of the controls to know your strengths and weaknesses if you do want to try gyro for yourself. So let's start with the pros. Gyro's extra range of motion versus your thumb on a stick will let you have more control over your aim than any stick could ever give you. Even having stick extensions like control freaks or raised sticks don't give you that much extra motion. There's just so much more movement you have when you're aiming with your whole hands and wrists versus your thumbs, which leads to faster snapping on targets, faster target switching, better tracking, etc. Especially in close quarters at higher sensitivity like I said I like. Number 2, you still get aim assist. Most games do not take away aim assist, and they really shouldn't. Gyro is a step between sticks and keyboard and mouse, but it is no replacement for the precision a mouse gets. So most developers still allow aim assist, which I believe is a big benefit if you're going to use gyro. Number 3, you don't need a full desk and keyboard and mouse setup for improved aim. You still get to use your controller like you always have. It's pretty self-explanatory. Gyro is built into most, if not all, controllers except for Xbox controllers. So most people have the option to use gyro and have better aim without buying any extra accessories, and a lot of people don't even know that. Now on to the cons. Gyro has a learning curve. Many people try it 10, maybe 20 minutes and just give up. It's a bit of an adjustment to learn how to use, and if you've been using a controller your whole life and you're used to aiming with the sticks, it takes hours, days, even weeks to get used to it. I saw the potential the first time I used it, and it still took me months to feel like I was really competent at it. Number 2, at higher sensitivities, gyro can feel wobbly or like your controller's aim is twitchy in a weird way. And this is due to not having your hands on a stable surface like in your legs. You never want your arms held out in the air. You should always have your forearms anchored on something. Could also be due to a bad gyroscope sensor in your controller. I've had a controller where the gyro just was a little off when you were holding it perfectly still. It would just move a little bit, and when I switched to a different controller, I did not have that same kind of wobbliness that I had before. But it is never going to look as smooth as the sticks or mouse. And some things, like staring down a sniper scope at the same spot for a while, will feel weird because the controller might move seemingly almost on its own. I always say gyro is best at close to mid-range encounters in most games. And you could do well at long range with the right settings, or if you have the hands of a surgeon. Number 3, most games just don't support gyro. If you build muscle memory in Splatoon with gyro and hope that it will translate to most shooters, well, you're just not getting a lot of gyro support. Rogue Company did it right in how they thoroughly support it, but most games are not like that. Playing Apex Legends may make you better on the sticks, but it's not going to help you with your gyro. You can map gyro controls in Steam so it thinks you're using a mouse, but I've found that feels off compared to officially supportive games. I feel like it has to do with the aim acceleration possibly, but you also don't get that aim assist as well, so you're really playing at a huge disadvantage doing that, and at that point you might as well just play regular controller or keyboard and mouse if the games don't officially support it. Finally, here's a few tips if you plan to try it out yourself. Be patient. It takes a while to make the switch in your head that you're not trying to aim with the sticks. The sticks are for turning the screen. When you want to aim, you need to try to only use gyro unless they go off screen or you have to make a huge turn, which you would use the stick to help you do. Always anchor your forearms comfortably and sit comfortably as well. If you're at a desk and in a chair, put your forearms on the legs or on the desk, but always try to keep your forearms anchored. Otherwise you're going to lift your arms and you're going to lose some of that steadiness because there's no point of connection between your forearms and something sturdy. Finally, figure out the settings that work best with you once you have an understanding of the input method. Do you want a really low gyro sensitivity and you plan to use your sticks more to help you turn? Do you want to rely almost exclusively on gyro and you want a higher sense to do that? There are advantages and disadvantages to these things, so keep that in mind what your strengths are. If you love playing long-range weapons like snipers, higher senses will feel more jittery when you aim down your scope, so you probably need a lower scope sense. If you prefer close range, a low gyro sense will feel crippling as you won't be able to turn as far as you want to keep tracking targets that are close. Remember, gyro is somewhere in between sticks and keyboard and mouse. Whether you think it's all the way really right close to keyboard and mouse, or it's just a little bit better than the sticks, or you might not even think it's better than either of them, you might think it's worse, it's going to depend on the player and the settings that they're using, as well as their aptitude at learning this new method. You're not going to be the best gyro player the first time you play gyro. It's going to take some time and practice. It's going to take getting the settings nailed in once you feel like you've got an idea of what you're doing. And I hope that you have something of an idea of what you're doing now. Gyro is so new to most people that I do think you have a lot of flexibility in how you lose it. I hope this video has been helpful or entertaining. If you have any interest in gyro at all, let me know if you have any of your own tips or questions, and I'll do my best to answer them in the comments below. Do you think gyro has a place in your future gaming experiences? Thanks, guys. Bye.
You can't win. All hostiles eliminated. Beautifully done. I thought this job would be harder.